speaker, which is going to be Victoria Gardens, for next month's second Tuesday. So hopefully we'll be gathering in Rosendale outside together. And if the weather is inclement, there's a beautiful place inside the nursery and garden. So we'll be able to have a hybrid meeting where we'll put it on Zoom as well, but we can gather in person and also be available on Zoom for those people who either have trouble commuting or are still a little reluctant to get together in a space with others. So we're moving into that space. And I'd like to introduce also Leslie Snow, who is our treasurer and our past president and web administrator and mentor for this group. One of the things that we can appreciate about Leslie is that she was the navigator through the COVID period and took us into the next generation of professionalism to get involved with Zoom meetings and just mastered the ability to move through that terrible crisis where we couldn't meet in the same way that we had before. So we thank Leslie, and she's interested to get more involved with her own life after 2 years of full-time dedication to UCWN, which we really appreciate to keep it going. So thank you very much. Yay. So if anybody wants to jump in to the advisory committee, we have lots of openings. Thank you. I'd like also to introduce our presenter. Deb Zul is an amazing woman. She has been doing 23 years of portraying Sojourner Truth, and she's here to tell her story of her experiences in portraying a very significant but lesser known woman who was a foremother of the suffrage movement in America. And she didn't limit her ideas to any one thing. She was out for the good for all human beings. And it's quite an inspiration. She was able to sue using the court system to get her son back when he was illegally transported. So she's given a lot of inspiration to many people. And I know Sheila and I have had conversations about when we go past the courthouse in Kingston, where Sojourner Truth won her court case, we can really honor the spirit that she's allowed women to go through court cases to get their children back, to sue their employers for unfair treatment. And she really broke a lot of glass ceilings that were restricted to women for sure. So I wanted to introduce Deb Zul, and she can take it away from here. And then we'll thank our sponsors toward the end, because we have lovely sponsors. We'd like to encourage everybody to participate in the discounts that we get as a benefit of being a member, and really encourage people to reach out, give us your ideas of the programs that you'd like to see, and participate, because this is not a top-down organization. This is a lateral, we're all in this together. We really have a vision of making this more diverse, more geographically inclusive. So it's not just a few big cities or regions around Ulster County, and also even outside of Ulster County, because there's a lot of people who have been with Ulster County Women's Network for years and have moved to Florida or moved to someplace. So we're not necessarily restricted to Ulster County alone. So thank you very much for your ideas. Figure out how you want to participate for a little bit or a lot.
You are frozen, Gloria.
Here. Oh dear.
Uh-oh.
Yes. I'm going to thank Gloria and Leslie for this opportunity. And I am so glad to be with you ladies this evening. Portraying Sojourner Truth for 23 years. It has been quite an experience, and I understand
Here she is.
There she
You're
is.
back, Gloria?
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know where I left off, but here I am again.
You're almost-
Okay. You want to finish or?
Introduce the speaker.
I know it froze and I'm not sure what I was saying. I basically said, I think, that you've been portraying Sojourner Truth for the last 23 years
Yes.
and have an amazing story to tell about your experiences embodying this wonderful woman who opened so many doors for women and people everywhere, no matter what you want to classify. There's no division. She had a direct line of the truth that she held within herself, that all people are equal. And she always orated in a way that could reach women, could reach men, could reach people who were having all kinds of divisional hierarchies. And she won their hearts with the truth. So I wanted you to talk about how you came to embody. You were invited to portray Sojourner Truth, and then you took on this role in a very serious way. So I'd love to hear your story, and we can all chat in the chat room to ask questions. Thank you. Welcome, Deb.
Thank you, Gloria. As I said, ladies, and Gloria has confirmed it, 23 years is a long time. And my beginning was back in 1999. My late husband and I became members of the Hurley Reformed Church in Hurley, New York, under the pastorate of Reverend Charles Stickley. In fact, he was instrumental in our joining. And while there, and fellowshipping with the other parishioners, this gentleman, God rest his soul, Mr. Vance Sutton, who was a teacher and a historian in Hurley, came up to me during coffee hour and said, Deb, I'd like to talk to you about something. And I said, okay. And so we sat down and he had this manuscript, and it was all about Sojourner Truth. Now, I am a Bronx native, and in my schooling, we had never heard of Sojourner Truth. We knew about Harriet Tubman, we knew about Frederick Douglass, but not about Sojourner Truth. So he and I went over this script together for a few Sundays. And he said to me, how would you like to portray her? And I said, okay. And so the journey began. Most of you may know that every second Saturday in July, the Hurley Reformed Church has Stonehouse Day. And we have the oldest stone houses in America. I know that New Paltz was giving us a run for our money, but we won. So we have the oldest. And one day, during Stonehouse Day, Vance Sutton, in one of the stone houses, their backyard, he set up a show. And it was almost like David Letterman. And they would transform me back into the present. And my real life daughter brought me to this place, and people were sitting on the ground. They had their lawn chairs, and here was this woman, Sojourner Truth, coming to this show. And he introduced me. There was applause. And then he wanted to break for a commercial. And I was like, who are you talking to? And so he had to explain to me that, you know, we have commercials and, you know, here's this microphone and all of this. He said, but I don't want to, you know, make your head explode with all of this, but we will go on. And so we did that together for about 20 minutes. And sadly, soon after, Vance had a massive heart attack and passed away. And so I'm left holding this manuscript and wanting to know what to do with it. I said, you know what, to myself, I'm going to continue doing the interviews. And if I can get a hold of someone to be the interviewer, then we're going to continue doing with the interviews. I got one person, and we got our script together. First man was Brian Newsworthy, who fictitious, and they had the People's Choice, and it was a radio show, and he was coming to hear all about Sojourner Truth. So many of the homes along Main Street in Hurley, we would set up at people's homes. And this was during Stonehouse Day, and we had to tell people not to have people in or going out of the house because we're filming, and, you know, so we got past that. And then it occurred to me that one of the biggest events was the Akron, Ohio Women's Conference that Sojourner Truth went to and stayed there for 2 days, listening to men in the conference. Women were not allowed to speak. And I've never heard Sojourner Truth's voice, but I will tell you this, each time that I am about to portray her anywhere, it's like her spirit comes into mine. And so what you see is the feeling that I get. She was a very powerful woman. Most people don't know that she was 6 feet tall. And she was a very powerful woman. I am nowhere near 6 feet tall. And one gentleman said to me, you know, Sojourner Truth was over 6 feet tall. And in my voice of Sojourner, I said to him, yes, and as we age, we shrink. And he said, I'm not going to mess with you, Deb. So he said, you just go on. Okay. But I said, that would be great to do inside the church. And so at 2:00 in the afternoon, everyone would come to the church, and it would be the setting for the conference. And I choose my people. So I went to you. I could say to you, Carol, I would like for you to be Mrs. Gage. Gloria, I would like for you to be the woman who didn't want me to speak. Kathy, you can be the minister. So I chose these people, and I chose an announcer. I have a tech who a few years ago, we decided to add sound. So when Sojourner Truth was walking down the aisle, you heard all the boos and the jeers and everything ugly that you could think of as she is walking down the aisle toward Mrs. Gage. And it's just great, all right, because everybody's looking around, to see who's doing all this booing, because people didn't want to boo me. I said, but I'm not me, I'm Sojourner, so you have to boo, But we did that, and the lady who doesn't want me to speak because, with the Negroes and with women's rights, getting all mixed up there, we don't want her to speak. And when Mrs. Gage says to the audience, simmer down, she introduces Sojourner Truth. And as I'm walking past her, we give each other the eye. Everybody loves that. And the lady who portrays that person is one of my besties. And we really give you a show. Okay. It's like, I'm getting up there. So I get up there, and it's ridiculous to have a women's conference and all the men are talking. Sojourner got sick and tired of that. And so I call out the minister. And you have to understand that when I'm looking around, okay, every nook and cranny, it is because she could have been killed at any time. She could have been dragged out of that conference. And so she wants to look to see that there's no guns pointed or, nooses and what have you. And when she is comfortable, then she begins to speak. And she gets this minister because he feels like women are not equal with men because Christ wasn't a woman. And I'm like, what? Sojourner, what? So I ask him, where did your Christ come from? And he gets all upset. He gets up, throws his hat down. Who does he think? Who does she think she is, talking to me like that in front of the other ministers and blah, blah, blah. And so he didn't answer me. So I get a little closer to him and I said, where did your Christ come from? With that, he gets up, throws his hat on the floor, and he storms out. And before he leaves, I tell him, Christ came from God and woman. Ain't no man had anything to do with it. We get much laughter because I want to know if it was something I said that caused him to leave. In portraying Sojourner, because you get three venues, okay? You can get me alone. You can get me with my interviewer that I call Jimmy Nolson, and this guy loves Superman. So we know Jimmy Olsen, right? So I call him Jimmy Nolson. And he and I go around and he asks all the questions and he says, Deb, sometime what you're saying is not on the script. So I said, I know. His name is David. I said, I know, David, but you just got to go with me because, I'm not myself. We have journeyed to many places. And who would have thought it? And I'm sure that Vance is upstairs looking down and saying, my. And I want to tell you that it's going to go further than just Ulster County. In 2011, a month after my husband passed, the Norman Rockwell Museum asked us to perform at the new museum. How they found out was because the curator or the event planner was in Hurley with his wife on vacation. They saw the stone houses. They saw our pastor at the time then, who was Bob Graham. And he said, we are doing things on Black History Month. We have Harriet Tubman, we have this person, we have that person, but one person we don't have is Sojourner Truth. And my pastor said, we have her. So we got together. One of my technicians and his wife and friends, my daughter, we all went up to Norman Rockwell in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. And let me tell you, it was something that I will never forget. We had standing room only, and when it got to be too many people, they moved back the walls. People from all over came, and I really believe that the young people who were the step dance group who had just performed at the White House for the Obamas, they must have thought that I was truly Sojourner come back. So they wanted to have pictures with Sojourner. I'm wanting to have pictures with them. And it was quite an experience, one that I will never forget. People thought I wouldn't do it, but I had to. And then we all went out to dinner afterwards. I treated everyone to dinner back in Kingston. We have been to Latham. We've been into Middletown. We went to the SUNY College there, where they said that I would be in front of seniors. And I have two children, Winston and CK. who said to me, Mom, you're going to a college, university. You know, there are seniors and juniors and, you know, all of that. So, you know, don't be thinking that, you know, you're going to see folks like you. I said, okay, well, let me tell you something, folks. We got there and my son was with me as one of my techs, John McGrew. And we walked, you know, we listened outside and the professor came out and she said, oh, Sojourner, I'm so happy that you're here. Blah, blah. You know, and I said, happy to be here, you know. And I said, well, wait until your class finishes. And they said, no, you can come on in. And when I went in, it was a class of seniors, teenagers, as I call them. And let me tell you, they were right on, okay? They were asking all kinds of questions. One lady asked, when did you die? And in my Sojourner Truth voice, I said, if I died, you wouldn't be talking to me now. So they were a great group. Flowers were all over the place, and we always have a good time wherever we go. We've been up in Coxsackie, and across the way was the Coxsackie prison, which from the thruway I always thought was a college. I didn't see the barbed wire and all of that until somebody told me, no, that's a prison. I said, okay. But we've been everywhere. And I have enjoyed the journey. My latest venture, should it come to pass, I will be going to Radnor, Pennsylvania, to the library there to perform. Sojourner Truth and my son will be going with me because he many times have stepped in for Jimmy Nolson, the Daughters of the American Revolution in Kingston. I've been there. And it was just during the time where they had the corned beef and cabbage. So we had a fabulous dinner. But been in the schools, Kingston High School, where the students portrayed the people in the show. And one little kid, he was about this tall, was the minister. He was so cute. I've been to Robert Graves, been to Myers, and as long as the Lord allows me to perform, I will do so in her honor. So I'm very blessed to be in her spirit. And I learn something all the time. And I'm very grateful to all the help that we receive because Kingston Kids and Kingston Radio, you know, they put on the walk, the annual walk. I told them that I have walked many miles and that I would see them at the Old Dutch Church, where we go and up. So Gloria, take it away. Any questions or whatever, get them to me.
Okay, we have a question about Barbara Allen and her books about Sojourner Truth, her great-granddaughter, great-grandmother, sixth generation, and she was a descendant in the line of Sophia, the infant that Sojourner Truth walked with to her freedom. So I
Yes.
know that you're planning on having a meeting between Battle Creek and the Esopus area where her great-grandmother lived, and Battle Creek is where she set up her ultimate home.
And
But she's lived
passed
in
away.
many places, right? And I'd love you to talk a little bit about carrying that embodiment for the ancestors. You're carrying ancestral spirit that really speaks to a lot of generations of people.
Miss Barbara Allen, I can't wait to meet, and we may be doing that in November. And I cannot think of the organization, but if we get into Kingston Radio or Radio Kingston or Kingston Kids, they would be able to say more about this. But I did see a little film on her in which she read about her mother telling her about her great 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 grandmother Sojourner Truth. And of course they gave me chills because you can feel her carrying her belongings, okay, on one shoulder, and little Sophia on her hip, and walking to freedom. Many of the little children that asked the question, did you run? And I make it very, very clear. I did not run. I walked. And Sophia, so for Barbara Allen to be in that line, I can't wait to, just pick her brain and to get her books so that we can all understand how important it is for all of us to know where we have come from and to leave where, we're going. So that's going to be very exciting.
Bev,
An
let
exciting
me.
time. Sorry.
I'm going to interject that Winston Queen your son just put in the chat box that the organization that's going to connect you is the YWCA Farm Project. Somebody asked about that.
Thank you, Winston.
Thank you, Winston.
Another highlight, Sojourner walked everywhere, 365 days. Can you imagine a young girl, bought at the age of 9, just had on a dress, walking through snow barefoot. Okay. Ouch. She had to be quite strong, especially because her first language was Dutch. And so when you are talking English to her, she doesn't understand that. And, so she was beat many times for that. She quickly learned a little bit of English, but she never was taught to read or write. And the children were very nice to put questions on the blackboard, and then they spoke them out to me, and I answered them. A great event was her visitation with President Lincoln. That was truly something that she enjoyed, and I always ask people, how many of you have ever been to the White House? And some people will raise their hands. And I said, well, I was there. And I talk a little bit about what the president and I spoke of. And he called me Aunt Sojourner. We talk about the courthouse, which she named her son Peter after her brother Peter. But, you know, when she was in Washington, D.C., she also had another case. And that was the streetcars. And I can just, you know, see this person with her friend. My friend gets on, you know, I have a white friend, Laura, she gets on. No problem, but then when I get on, there's a problem. I was injured in that altercation with the conductor who, for all intents and purposes, the president had banned segregation of the streetcars, but they weren't listening. So they had to be sued. And after they were sued, all the streetcars were looking like salt and pepper. I love that. There was, you know, so she had other instances where she went to court because she at one time was accused of stealing, but in every case she came out on top. I want you ladies to know that while she was fighting for the rights of white women, it was not something that she did for her people. Women's suffrage had nothing to do with Black women. And I feel in my spirit with her, she was about human beings. And it didn't matter, okay, the color, that didn't matter, but she wanted equality and rights for everyone. And that is what I bring when I am talking, because I'm getting goosebumps now. But when I am talking about her or talking through her, it's something that only, you know, you can only experience it if you're there. You know, someone you may know. I was telling Gloria about my great grandmother who in 1970 passed away. She was 110. She was born on the cusp of the end of slavery. And for all that had happened, there is not one photo of her smiling. And everybody's asking me, why don't you smile? You know, you look so mean and all of that. And I said, I'm in character. What did Sojourner have to smile about? What did she have to smile about? All that had happened to her. I mean, her children, being sold. If you know the movie Glory, her grandson was in that regiment. And there's so many stories to be told, especially when she gets back to Battle Creek, Michigan, and she has one last chance to have her remaining children with her before she passes away. So I am hoping that I will be able to get out to Battle Creek, Michigan. I've been to Detroit, but to get to Battle Creek to see where she lies. And I have on my, and I can't see it, but my Sojourner Truth shirt. I thought I'd wear it, just so that she would be with me.
And one of the things that we talked about was several years ago, I had a gallery in Kingston, and I produced an 11-day thing called Kingston. It was a fringe festival, Kingston Festival of the Arts. And I had my friend Kenny Fine, who lives in Long Island and New York City, come with his play about Sojourner Truth. It's called Truth, the Musical. And I'd encourage everybody to take a look at it on YouTube. What he did was helped his daughter, who was doing an assignment, to do a paper on one of the Americans that made significant strides. And people like Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and lots of people were on the list that she had heard about, but Sojourner Truth was on the list and she had never heard about him. So he read all the things that Sojourner Truth said because she was a great persuasive orator. She had a magnificent voice and she would charm people. It was almost like singing. And people wrote down what she said because it was so important. And she was considered one of the 100 most significant Americans. And he put music to her words. And Truth, the Musical was played at the Boys and Girls Club in Washington, D.C. for hundreds and hundreds of people. And it was a fundraiser. So I'm just thinking there's lots of ways that we could take this show on the road to some degree and expose the truth about Sojourner and her victories for all people. And I'm just excited about this. And I feel the tingles too. It's great.
Oh yeah, I don't know where this will lead, but Lord willing, I'm going to go for it, as long as the Lord allows. I don't look for crowds or anything. Because she wasn't about that. She was a very humble woman. She took shadows of herself to, fund her journey.
Oak Island is on, Dean.
What jump?
48.
Oh,
I didn't hear.
Sheila, you need to mute yourself, please.
I'm
I
not,
think that
wasn't
Phyllis
me.
Silvers. Phyllis
It's-
Silvers, you need to mute yourself.
I thought I was muted. It says mute here.
It does?
Okay.
Well, we heard you talk to Dean.
All right.
Me.
We'll continue on.
When is your
when are you appearing as Sojourner at the Stonehouse Day this year?
You know, because of COVID, we have not had Stonehouse Day. I know that they are looking to get it going. I don't know if there will be. If it is to be, it's the second Saturday in July, and it's from 10 to 4. And at that time, you can go into the many houses because the owners allow people to come into certain areas of the house. And then at 2:00, you come to the church, and that's the performance of Sojourner Truth.
Would you be able to let us know if it's happening this year? Because I think you have a lot of people here who are like, yeah, I want to do that.
I certainly will, because we have people from all over the country who come. I mean, it's not just, local you get people from Australia, this place, that place. And I tell you, it's a sight to behold. And we enjoy doing it. So I will definitely let you know, should it be happening. If it does not happen, the church that I pastor, we may be putting something on which will be in the fall, and it will be a reenactment. So that's up in the air, but I will let everyone know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any more questions? If you do, unmute yourself and ask away. Well, I guess Gloria got bumped off.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm delighted to listen to Ms. Zuli, the person I was excited to see 3 years ago at the second annual Sojourner Truth Life Walk. Was the first time I saw this performance, and Jimmy Olsen was there in the actual reenactment of this presentation. And then this year again, very delighted to be there. And it's so wonderful that you're doing this, because it brings it alive, when someone is doing the character and you have insight. And Sojourner Truth is, to me, someone that everyone can relate to, can be inspired by. And just in the area of Kingston and the community gathering together and really embracing Sojourner Truth and her values is good to see. It's really wonderful that the community comes together to celebrate Sojourner Truth, and that Ms. Zuli has been instrumental in that, and her son and everyone in the my Kingston kids, and the community has just works very well together. Just that's how you can do something like that in February,
Yes.
to walk in her steps. And we learned a lot, stopping at the various locations and seeing that snow on her bare feet, and realizing what life was like. And then, of course, the children seeing the scars on her back. That statue And there just can't be enough statues. People say, well, gee, another well, yeah, because why not have as many statues as we like? It's because there's so much to show, from stopping the car in DC. I mean, who thought there's somebody like that? She was way ahead of her time in so many different regards. And the more you learn about her, then you see how complex she really was in terms of how dynamic she was in the Civil War, writing songs, getting advocating for the 40 acres and a mule, or well, she didn't call it that, but they wanted to give land away to the soldiers that fought in the Civil War. They never got that land, but she advocated for that. So she was right. I mean, she just had the mind, and amazing that she came from Ulster County, and growing up in Port Jervis. When I went to college at New Paltz in 1986, there was a stamp that was issued at New Paltz. It was the first time I learned about Sojourner Truth. So I've been with her for a long time, since 1986. February 4th was the date the Black Studies Department at New Paltz introduced Sojourner Truth to everyone. We didn't know, because growing up at Port Jervis, they never talked about slavery in the North. I mean, we had no concept of that. We thought it was those evil, horrible Confederates down there in the South. We had no responsibility for slavery.
Right.
We were the good guys in the war, right? We were the North. But when I came to college, I learned that. I said, oh, that's why I came here, to learn something. But to find out, and then I saw all the Black students at the college, and we all came together. And so I saw for the first time that people can come around. You said she was a person that reached out to all races. She embraced everyone. Well, people embrace her of all races too, because they see something in her, whether it's women's rights or the Black and civil rights. She is what they call, she has all those different characteristics. They have a term for that, where she intersectionality, is that what it is? So the college term. But the Sojourner Truth is someone youth relate to all over the world, not just here in the United States, but in Africa, for example. They know about her. Our embassies.
Her parents were from there.
Yes.
Yeah. Her parents were from there. And as far as the stamp is concerned, the gentleman who plays my interviewer, his name is David Kent. His father, Mr. Kent, who has passed, and he was 100 or so, was instrumental in getting the signatures and everything for that stamp, because he lived in the post office, what they call the post office, on the main street in Hurley. So I have all that information, and it just it blows you away.
Yeah. Well, we're coming to a time of closing because we end at 8 o'clock. And this is a subject that we can talk about for quite a long time. And I'm very hopeful that we've all understood Sojourner a little bit better through Deb's eyes, because she's such an important figure. And I for one, want to appreciate you, Deb, for speaking to us today and for enlightening us about the importance of Sojourner Truth as one of the foremothers of the suffragette movement. We've had speakers for the 100th anniversary of the women's right to vote through League of Women Voters, and we went through the whole Quaker history, and really everybody owes a great gratitude to what you're doing, because you're bringing the full picture. We know about the foremothers through the Quaker connection, embrace the idea of all people are equal, and how Sojourner came to the Van Wagners. They bought her from her owner so that they could free her, and she lived in a communal environment where everybody believed in equality of the races and the genders and ages and class systems. And she was part of the original team that fought for women's right to vote. So thank you
Yes.
very much. I want to
Thank
thank
you all.
this has been an amazing, she's more like a co-president than a past president, but thank you so much for supporting me and my baby steps and taking on this role. And I ask for everybody's patience to work with me and Sheila and come on board to the team so that we can all work together. Thank you so very much.
No, thank you, Gloria.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, everyone. And hope to see you again doing something else.
Absolutely. One of the traditions that I have is it's a little bit peculiar for many, I'm sure, but it's ending meetings with "In perfect love and in perfect trust, I pass this kiss. May peace be with Mother Earth." Thank you.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Right.
Good night, everybody. Very great. Wonderful.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
as long as everyone is on. Okay, this is Deborah.